A pack of evil vampires lives in a dark forest where ancient trees hide many secrets. These disgusting creatures haunt the inhabitants of a small village, giving them no rest day or night. Creepy and bloodthirsty, they enter houses, creating a real hell for anyone who dares to enter their territory. Some of the villagers disappeared without a trace. Their bodies have never been found. The rest live in constant fear, not knowing who will be the next victim of these evil creatures. All attempts to expel the vampires from the forest were in vain. They turned out to be skillful and insidious opponents. Only one young girl, Mary, decided to confront them. She has learned the art of hunting vampires and intends to infiltrate their lair, to destroy them all. But what awaits her in the dark depths of the forest? Will she be able to defeat these monsters or fall into their clutches? After all, vampires have power and terrible abilities that can be fatal for Mary. Mary went into the forest armed with sacred water, a glowing bow and arrows soaked in silver. She penetrated deeper into the dark and gloomy depths of the forest, where ancient trees bent over the road, as if reaching out to her to warn her of the impending threat. The source of evil, a pack of vampires, lived in a mossy, gloomy cave surrounded by dark magic and forbidden symbols. As Mary approached the cave, she heard the sounds of gnashing teeth, howling winds, and strange noises. The vampires sensed the threat approaching and became wary. But Mary, without losing her vigilance, entered the cave, ready to challenge this sinister force. However, the deeper she penetrated, the stronger the fear became. The voices whispering in the dark, the shadows gliding silently past, and the dark presence that lurked in every corner filled her being with terror. But Mary didn't give up. Summoning her willpower, she moved forward, ready to avenge all those who had suffered from these sinister creatures. Suddenly, she heard faint singing somewhere deep inside the cave. The sound led to her, as if a spell infused with mysterious magic was guiding her steps deeper and deeper into the darkness. Mary followed the singing, which seemed to be calling her. She was afraid, but she could not pull herself out of this domineering influence. As she approached, the light emitted by her bow became fainter, as if the terrifying atmosphere of the cave was absorbing its light. They became the only source of light that allowed her to continue on her way. Soon, the singing led Mary to a huge cave where spiders hung on stalactites and the remains of vampire victims were on the floor. In the center of the cave, she saw a high altar where a vampire in a luxurious dress was sitting. She was singing a melodious song. Her gaze was filled with longing and at the same time alluring halos of evil. She greeted Mary with a smile on her pale face and began to speak with words that penetrated her soul like a scorching and cold wind. Mary, overcome with feelings, struggled with herself, not knowing what to do, leave her or destroy the evil vampire. But her decision was interrupted by the appearance of a force that caused the altar to shake. And at that moment, Mary was confronted by the most powerful of the vampires, the vampire overlord. He froze, looking at Mary with his bloody eyes, which was full of fear and determination at the same time. He talked about the ancient secrets that were guarded by this sinister pack and about the betrayal that had come to life for all of them. And then there was a loud sound and a projectile fell to the ground next to Mary, which she used to destroy the vampire. But when she turned her gaze again, the vampire and the vampire disappeared, and Mary was left alone in the cave. The altar was collapsing. The cave began to shake. Rocks and fragments of the altar collapsed to the floor, forcing Mary to escape from them. Alphas of sand and dust filled the air. When all this chaos subsided, Mary saw that at the time of the collapse, the entrance to the cave was blocked by debris. She realized that now she was trapped here, along with the secrets of this cursed cave. She sighed, trying to calm down, and surveyed her surroundings. Not far from her, she came across an ancient retinue decorated with unknown symbols and runes. The entourage recorded information on how to destroy the vampires and free the cave from the curse. Mary realized that this was her only chance to get out of here and save her village. She decided to study the retinue and unravel the secrets hidden here for so many centuries. After all, only by solving these mysteries will she be able to find a way to defeat the evil vampires and free the ancient cave. And so, while Mary was immersed in the study of the retinue, she discovered that strange and incomprehensible events began to happen around her. The walls of the cave changed their shape, the darkness began to melt, and shadows appeared around that moved independently of the light. Mary screamed in horror, realizing that she was trapped again. As Mary continued to study the retinue, the shadows around her began to thicken, taking on terrifying shapes and making ominous noises. She felt that the forces of evil lurked in these shadows, but her curiosity and determination did not allow her to give up. Each new page of the suite was an immersion into the world of ancient magical knowledge about vampires, their customs and sinister forces. Mary was learning the secrets that would help her fight powerful creatures, but the question of how successfully this would happen remained open. Suddenly, the deserted and lifeless cave came alive with new threats. The vampires' songs and the vampire lord's screams filled the air, and Mary realized that they had returned. She was surrounded, but her resolve remained unshakable. But in the distance, I heard the sound of a creaking ancient door, which seems to have been closed by someone. Mary sensed that something mysterious was happening and moved in that direction with determination. Thoughts of possible allies or new enemies began to flash through her mind. Is it possible that there is someone else besides her in this cursed cave who can help or, conversely, cause harm? And then the ancient door opened, and an unfamiliar figure in a long cloak appeared on the threshold, illuminated by light and mystery. Her eyes shone like jewels, and Mary felt that she was carrying something else with her that could change the course of events. A stranger in a raincoat entered the cave, and Mary immediately felt an ominous aura emanating from him. He slowly approached, his gaze reflecting many mysteries and riddles. Suddenly, he began to chant an ancient spell in an unfamiliar language and magically directed the flow of power towards the vampires. In response, the shadows in the cave began to squirm and seek shelter. They made frightening noises and got out of control. Mary realized that she was facing a powerful magician or caster. The man in the raincoat turned to Mary. His voice was cold and deathly quiet. He offered his help in fighting the vampires and freeing the cave from an ancient curse. However, he refused to reveal his true intentions and past. His words were mysterious, and Mary couldn't decide whether to help him or trust him, especially considering his gloomy appearance and powerful magic. At that moment, the howling host of vampires could be heard in the cave again. The stranger with the cape and Mary quickly took action. He created protective barriers and attacked vampires with powerful magic, while Mary fired arrows from her glowing bow. They fought together, forcing the vampires to retreat and seek shelter in the darkness. But every moment the tension increased, and the power of the enemies became stronger. In the end, their combined efforts allowed them to ward off the vampire attack, and Mary took advantage of the moment of reuniting consciousness, rushed to storm the main altar, which was the source of evil and the curse of the cave. On the verge of victory, Mary felt the power of the ominous curse turn out to be stronger than she had imagined. The moment she touched the altar, waves of darkness radiated from it and enveloped her. Mary realized that this sinister curse was trying to tear out of her soul all the virtue and humanity that helped her fight vampires and the power of evil. She whispered prayers and spells that inspired her to fight. But the darkness of the curse was stronger. Meanwhile, a stranger in a raincoat stood between Mary and the altar. He summoned powerful forces to repel the darkness of the all-consuming curse. Pillars of light and darkness formed around him and Mary, blocking the penetration of evil. The stranger radiated power and authority that pierced the web of darkness spreading from the altar. He ordered Mary to flee, delaying the curse's attack on himself. At the last moment before she left the altar, Mary heard him whisper, "You must find an artifact that will end the curse. It is hidden in the very depths of the cave. And remember, when the time comes, the truth will always find its way." The forces of light and darkness combined, and Mary ran through the silence ringing in the cave. She was overcome by a multitude of feelings: fear, determination, hope. She was not sure that she could resist the curse and the forces of darkness demanding their conqueror. Mary continued to descend deeper into the dark and gloomy depths of the cave, taking her glowing bow and all her determination with her. The shadows around her grew thicker, and the curse rebelled against her, trying to stop her at every step. But Mary did not give up. Her will was strong, and she knew that she was not alone on this path. After many hours of descending through the labyrinth of the cave, Mary discovered an ancient artifact that shone with light in the darkness. This artifact was the key to freeing himself from the curse, and he had been here all this time, waiting for his chosen savior. Mary carefully took it in her hands, and at that moment, drops of light penetrated into the dark corners of the cave, expelling evil vampires from there and destroying everything connected with the curse. Freed from the darkness, Mary returned to the village as a heroine, with an artifact in her hands. She used his power to bring blessings to the ancient cave, and through her efforts and wisdom, she freed her village from fear and evil. She solved all the mysteries of the cave and was able to defeat the curse, bringing light and goodness to this gloomy place. Her story has become a legend, passed down from mouth to mouth for centuries, as an example of courage, determination, and unshakable faith in ourselves. That's how this story ended. But the memory of Mary and her feat will remain in the hearts of the villagers, reminding them that even in the world of darkness there is always hope for a bright future.